I started my catering business with nothing but an aging van, a set of secondhand cookware, and a stubborn belief that food could change my life if I pushed hard enough. I was 26 then, working nights at a diner and spending every free moment testing recipes in a rented kitchen that smelled like bleach and old flour. I built everything slowly, client by client, week by week, until I finally had enough steady work to quit my job and go all in. For the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't suffocating under someone else's schedule. The business was mine, built with my hands, my sweat, my mistakes. And for a while, it felt like everything was finally moving in the right direction. My girlfriend, Naomi, was there from the start. She'd sit on the counter while I cooked, swinging her legs and teasing me about how seriously I took everything. She was warm, charismatic, quick to laugh, the kind of person who made everyone feel important. When she told people she was with me, I felt like I'd won some prize I never actually entered to win. She said she loved that I had a dream, that I wasn't afraid to work myself raw for it. And I believed her. I believed every word she ever told me. My first year in business, everything grew faster than I expected. Weekend parties turned into weekday office lunches, which turned into corporate events and small weddings. I hired 2 part-timers, bought new equipment, upgraded my licensing, and finally felt like I could breathe without checking my bank account 10 times a day. Clients loved my food. Reviews were glowing. Repeat customers referred their friends. It felt like all the struggle had been worth it. Until the things I couldn't explain started happening. At first, it was just a few order changes I didn't remember making. A client would call asking why I suddenly switched their menu or downgraded their service. I'd check my records and find notes added to invoices that weren't mine. Then it became late arrivals I knew I wasn't late for. I'd show screenshots proving the agreed-upon time, and they'd show me messages apparently from me, changing the time the night before. At first, I thought it was just growing pains, systems errors, maybe a glitch in my scheduling software. But it kept happening, always at the worst possible times, always with clients whose reviews actually mattered. Then ingredients began disappearing. I'd finish prepping for a morning event and lock everything in the walk-in. By the time I came back at sunrise, things were missing, proteins gone, produce scattered, sauces dumped out or mysteriously spoiled. The security camera in the kitchen hallway always glitched during the same window of time, showing flickers of static like a horror movie. My landlord said it was old wiring. I started thinking I was losing my mind. Naomi would rub my shoulders, tell me I was burnt out, that I needed to hire more help, maybe scale back, maybe sleep more. She'd hold me when I felt like screaming, telling me it wasn't my fault, that someone out there probably wanted my business slot or was jealous of how fast I'd grown. And I believed her. Or I wanted to. But then clients began canceling. Reviews dropped. Someone posted anonymous claims about food poisoning. Another accused me of stealing equipment from a venue, something that never happened. Venues I'd worked with for years suddenly required deposits I never needed before. A wedding planner removed me from her vendor list without explanation. Everything I'd built was slipping away through cracks I couldn't see, let alone control. The breaking point came when I lost a contract that would have supported my entire operation for 3 months. A tech company had booked me for their product launch, a huge event, over 100 guests, 5-figure payout. The morning before, my van wouldn't start. My backup van wouldn't start. The rental place said they had nothing available because someone, using my business email, had canceled the reservation days prior. I ended up losing the contract. The company called me unreliable. Word spread. My staff hours shrank to nothing, and I eventually had to let them go. Naomi told me maybe it was a sign I should pivot. She said maybe catering wasn't meant to last forever. Maybe I should go back to a stable job, something predictable, something that didn't drown me in anxiety. She said she missed how things used to be when we had more time together, before the business started eating me alive. I thought she meant well. I thought she was trying to help. I didn't realize the first real crack in my world until the night Naomi came home late from work drinks. She wasn't drunk. She was too controlled for that. But something in her eyes looked sharper, colder, like she was carrying a secret she wasn't sure she wanted to keep. I asked if she was okay, and she brushed me off, kissing my cheek and telling me not to worry. But I did. I always did. Especially because things kept getting worse. The next week, I found my business bank account short by almost $2,000. Transfers I never authorized. Payments marked as equipment purchases from suppliers I'd never used. When I confronted the bank, they showed me signed authorizations, signatures that looked like mine but weren't. The only other person who had ever seen my signature consistently enough to forge it perfectly lived in my apartment. I didn't want to believe it. I told myself it was identity theft, a scammer, an external threat. I refused to even consider Naomi as a possibility. She had been with me through everything. She wouldn't sabotage what I'd spent years building. She wouldn't undermine the things she'd claimed to support. But denial doesn't stop a sinking ship. It just delays the drowning. 2 days later, my kitchen landlord called to tell me someone had filed multiple noise complaints under my business name and claimed I was storing food improperly. Health inspectors arrived, twice in 1 week. They found nothing wrong, but their presence alone damaged my credibility. Clients were nervous. Events got canceled. And every time something went wrong, Naomi seemed ready with a soft voice and gentle hands telling me maybe I was taking on too much. Maybe I should step back and rest. But it wasn't until I found a stranger standing behind my kitchen building at 2 a.m. that everything snapped into focus. I had returned unexpectedly to prep for a last-minute order, a charity brunch for a friend of a friend who needed help. I pulled up behind the building and saw a man crouched by my walk-in refrigerator door, fumbling with something metallic. At first, I thought he was trying to break in. But when he saw me, he bolted so fast he dropped the object in his hand.
A key.
My key. One I'd lost weeks earlier and assumed had fallen behind a counter. I picked it up with shaking hands. Whoever he was comfortable enough to use a key. He wasn't breaking in. Someone gave him access. Someone close. I went inside, heart pounding, and found half my inventory dumped onto the floor. Protein shredded, produce bruised, sauces spilled into drains. It was deliberate. Not vandalism, sabotage. Slow, calculated, consistent sabotage done by someone who knew exactly how to hurt me without leaving obvious traces. I locked the kitchen and drove home shaking. Naomi was asleep on the couch when I walked in, phone still glowing in her hand. I moved closer. A message popped up on her screen. Did he catch you? Should have told me before you went. We need to be careful. From a number I didn't recognize. The blood drained from my body. My legs went numb. My breath stopped. The message wasn't addressed to me.
It wasn't her warning me.
It was her warning someone else. The truth hit me slowly, painfully, like a dull blade pressed against my ribs. Naomi wasn't comforting me. She wasn't supporting me. She wasn't helping me through chaos. She was the chaos. She was the one destroying me piece by piece, and the man behind my kitchen that night wasn't some random criminal. He was helping her. I stepped back quietly and stared at her sleeping face, wondering how long she had been building this collapse beneath me. Wondering why. Wondering what I had missed. But answers could come later.
For now, I needed to stay quiet.
Pretend I knew nothing. Pretend I still trusted her. Because if she was willing to hire someone to sabotage my livelihood, I needed to understand what she was planning next before I confronted her, or before she escalated to something far worse. Over the next few days, I acted normal. I kissed her forehead in the morning, made her coffee, asked about her day, kept my voice steady. But inside, my mind was sprinting, trying to stitch together every moment where things had gone wrong. Every accident. Every missing ingredient. Every time Naomi had said we needed more time together. Every time she suggested I scale back. She didn't want my business to grow. She wanted it to die. And she wanted me to be the one who pulled the plug. The more I watched her, the more cracks I saw. She was too calm when clients canceled. Too quick to comfort. Too quick to pivot conversations away from financial issues. Too ready with solutions that involved me giving up.
But she underestimated me.
She thought because I was hurting, I wouldn't pay attention. She thought because she'd been beside me from the beginning, I wouldn't suspect her. She thought love made me blind.
It did.
But only until the moment it didn't. I began documenting everything. Screenshots of her messages, copies of invoices, bank transfers, photos of equipment tampering. I installed secret cameras in the kitchen that uploaded to a private cloud account she didn't know existed. I swapped the locks on my walk-in fridge without telling anyone. 3 nights later, the stranger returned. This time, he didn't get far. He tried the old lock, it didn't turn. He tried prying the door, no luck. I watched him through my hidden camera as he looked around nervously, pulled out his phone, and typed furiously. Not 10 seconds later, Naomi's name popped up on his screen. She was calling him. The man answered in a whisper. He changed the lock. I can't get in. Silence. Then her voice, cold and annoyed. Figure it out. He's not supposed to stay in business long enough to take that new client. My chest tightened. A new client. The one contract I needed to stabilize everything. She was timing her sabotage. This wasn't emotional. It wasn't impulsive. It was strategic, calculated, targeted. She wanted me to hit rock bottom. She wanted me dependent on her. She wanted me to feel like I couldn't survive without her support. It wasn't until later that I found out why. She wasn't doing this because she hated my business. She was doing it because she couldn't control it. The more successful I became, the less she recognized the version of me who existed before the business. The one who made time for her, rearranged his schedule for her, put her needs above his own. She wanted that version back. The man who didn't have boundaries. The man who didn't have something to lose. But she didn't understand that when you sabotage someone's purpose, you don't make them dependent. You make them dangerous. By the end of the week, I had enough proof to bury her and the stranger she hired. But destroying her wasn't enough.
Not yet.
If she wanted to take my business away from me, I would take something far more valuable away from her. Not physically, not violently, but strategically, surgically, and permanently. I would take her sense of control. I would take the future she thought she had planned. I would take back every stolen piece of my life. And I would make sure she never had the power to hurt me or anyone else again. My opportunity came fast. A major catering company, one of the largest in the region, reached out for a collaboration. They wanted a local partner for their new corporate dining program. It was a contract worth 6 figures annually, enough to not only rebuild what I lost but to surpass it. Naomi didn't know.
But she sensed I was hopeful about something.
She asked too many questions. She grew clingy, hovering, insisting on helping with paperwork or tasting menu items. The more she sensed I was rising again, the more desperate she became to pull me back down. But this time I wasn't drowning. This time I was swimming toward land she couldn't reach. 3 nights before my final interview with the corporate partner, Naomi made her move. I came home to find her crying on the couch, shaking, telling me she felt like I was hiding something from her. I just want us back, she whispered. Back to when you needed me. Needed. Not loved. Not trusted. Needed. That was the truth she couldn't hide. I knelt beside her and took her hand, and I lied so smoothly I shocked even myself. I'm sorry, I said. You're right. I've been distant. Work has consumed me. I want us to fix things too. Her eyes softened with hope. Good. Let her believe it. Let her think she was winning. Because the moment hope blooms in someone who tried to destroy you is the exact moment they're most vulnerable. I suggested we take a short trip together after my small meeting that week. She agreed instantly, her relief obvious, her control seemingly restored. But while she slept peacefully that night, I finished preparing everything. A compiled digital folder of all her sabotage. Recorded calls. Camera footage. Bank fraud documentation. Screenshots of her messages with the stranger. A timeline of every action she took to destroy my business. And a separate report submitted to her workplace detailing her involvement in coordinated fraud and property damage. She lost her job within 48 hours. She didn't even know yet. The morning of my final interview, I left the apartment early, telling her I'd be back by noon. But I never returned, because by noon, she was busy. The police had arrived with questions about fraudulent financial activity. Her employer had revoked her building access. Her accomplice had already confessed when confronted with evidence. And the digital trail she thought she covered was traced entirely back to her. I didn't need to press charges. I didn't need to see her punished. I didn't need revenge. All I needed was distance. And the world handled the rest for me. By the time she tried calling me, 20 missed calls in 1 hour, I was sitting in a sleek conference room across from the corporate dining executives who told me they were thrilled to bring me on board. They asked if anything in my background could complicate the partnership. I smiled.
No.
Nothing that hasn't already been resolved. I signed the contract that afternoon. 6 figures, guaranteed work, full creative control, expansion support. Everything I had fought for. Everything she tried to take from me. I moved out that evening. Left her the apartment. Left her everything except my equipment. She could keep the empty space that once held my life, but she'd never touch my future again. She sent messages for weeks afterward. Apologies, pleas, threats, guilt trips, confessions, begging for closure. I never responded. Not once. Because sometimes the greatest triumph isn't destroying someone who tried to destroy you. It's outgrowing the version of yourself that once allowed them access. Today, my catering company has a full team, 2 trucks, a permanent facility, and a waiting list months long. I teach classes. I mentor young chefs. I donate leftovers to shelters. I'm living the life I dreamed of before everything went dark. And the best part? I am finally, absolutely, undeniably free.